Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here, and today I'm talking to you about Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. So Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin is a weekly manga from Shonen Jump from the boy Ryuhei Tamura. And we've talked about this guy recently. He did the manga Hungry Marie, which got axed at around 30 chapters not that long ago. This is the series that is the follow-up to that. And sadly, we are talking about it now because this series has also ended with a total of 47 chapters. It was published from June of 2020 and ended of June of 2021, barely going 1 year in publication. I was looking forward to reading this manga because I'm a big fan of Tamura, as you guys know, right? We talked about Hungry Marie, and then of course the series before that, Beelzebub, which was his best work so far in my opinion. It just really sucks to see this happen because even though Beelzebub is the most successful series he's done, that one also got canceled from my understanding. So far, all the work he's done in Jump that became serialized have been canceled. And then the one-shots he did, of course, didn't get picked up. And it really sucks to say because I just want to see the boy do some good work, which I have to admit, this series is pretty good. In my opinion, as far as a canceled series go, this one wrapped up the nicest. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin is about our main character, Samejima, who is, of course, a hard-boiled cop. He's serious. He doesn't really play by the rules as long as he can get justice served at the end of the day. Very old school style of being a cop, but it's modern day, and they don't really want to see that anymore in Japan. So they decide to fire him. And after some persuading from higher-ups, he instead gets demoted and is shipped off to the Ogasawara Islands, where he will be a cop there in the very small precinct in a very small town. When he arrives on the island, he's introduced to one of the recurring characters, technically, I guess, the main heroine of the series, but she really doesn't get a lot of screen time just because of, the amount of chapters we have. Her name is Nanase, and she escorts him into the precinct, gives him a debriefing of what's kind of going on at the precinct itself, the situation on the island, and they stumbled upon a cult involving basically eldritch gods or whatever, the beings that live in the ocean, and they worshipped this oracle who was just a child of 5 years old. The precinct interfered and is now in custody of this child until they figure out what to do moving forward, as she is still a potential target to the other cult members that are still out there. And she is quite popular because there was a video that emerged of her talking to dolphins, and thus the rumor spread that she was raised by dolphins, and that's why she could communicate with them. And then from there, he goes to the precinct, meets her, and eventually meets his new partner here on the island, Lieutenant Orpheus, who we surprisingly find out is in fact a cop dolphin. So things are pretty bizarre right off the bat, and it pretty much tells you exactly what this series is going to be. A gag manga with some cool moments here and there. For a majority of the manga, we dive into the daily life of Samejima, Orpheus, and the child whose name is Chaco, as they live their day-to-day lives on this island, dealing with, island tier problems as well as other encounters that they have later on, mainly involving sea creatures who we find out there's mermen, similar to One Piece in a sense. So when I first heard about this being serialized, the first thing I thought was like, okay, cool, Tamura's doing something new, I want to check this out, but of course I do want to talk about it on the podcast, so I'll just wait until we get a good amount of chapters, right? That's what I do with a lot of new upcoming series, and I didn't really read any synopsis or anything for it because I kind of just want to go in there fresh. So before I went in, I thought I had the basic premise down, right? The promotional art that Shonen Jump does, as well as on the app, is an image of Samejima chasing Chaco as she's running around being a child, having a good time, and Nanase is there with him. And with the title Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin, I figured, okay, so this is a series about a guy who's a hard-boiled cop, and he is taking care of a child who was raised by dolphins, hence Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. Okay, yeah, that makes pretty good sense. And then at some point I looked and I was like, oh, is that the volume 3 cover? Oh, it's a dolphin in a suit. That's interesting, but I didn't think anything of it. And then sure enough, oh, he's a very important piece into the story. That's weird that he wasn't being promoted that much. I found that interesting. Maybe it's because you want to keep it a surprise, right? Because we don't get to see anything with him until we get the name drop. And, we get the automatic absurd reaction for Samejima saying, what the heck is going on? This series reminds me of Gintama, where there's a lot of gag for the most part, a lot of obscure, random things happening week to week just to get you that laugh factor kicking in. And then at certain points here and there sprinkled throughout, we actually get some lore about the world that Tamura is slowly developing. And then we get into some serious stuff, and then we go to where Tamura does what he does best, which is the action sequences in the series. I don't have much to say about the art since the last time we talked about Tamura with Hungry Marie, other than it's fantastic. But as we got more and more in there, it's really about learning about the people on the island, understanding situations, and how important Chaco is to the story, and also how important it is to make sure she lives as a normal girl. Now, unfortunately, because the series got canceled, there was a plot point involving her that really didn't get fleshed out. And it was a key point in some of the gag stuff, but then some of the serious stuff as well. And yeah, the fact that it couldn't get fleshed out was disappointing because, as the series got axed, who knows when we got the information, Tamura decided, okay, well, let's show the ideas I wanted to do before we go. Like I said earlier, this is the best version I've seen of that so far, where it all feels cohesive, nothing feels rushed, and it actually feels like it flows into the story. Now, sure, there's missing details and all of that, but overall, yeah, I was satisfied with the ending. Very wholesome stuff, but there were some things, I will say, I guess, that were rushed, and that just has to do with the minor character development between our main cast and some of the support members that Tamura really wanted to develop over time, and we really just didn't get any of that in these 47 chapters. So that's really the biggest disappointment I have, is like the fact that we couldn't dive into what Tamura really wanted for the series. And honestly, I was here for it. So enough about the gags. Let's talk about the serious stuff here, man. Like I said, there's mermen in this story, and the designs are good as always. It wasn't exactly clear on what the mermen were, based on the stuff that they were doing with Chaco. So I thought, how much of this is real? How much of it is a gag? Right? That's the thing that kept popping up. And then eventually it was established oh, no, these guys have been here for a long time. Like, these are pre-established creatures that have been here. One of the things that gets brought up every now and then, which I could see it being evolved more and more if the series kept going, was, oh, because humanity hasn't discovered a majority of the ocean, there's so many species that they just don't know about. And that could just be plant-like creatures, or just the mermen in general. And there was some cool stuff in there that was being explored in some flashbacks and stuff that, again, I really just wish we got some more info on. But yeah, so once we got to that, then we got involved with, okay, if we're combating people underwater, how exactly are we going to be going about that? Because Samejima is a normal guy. And Orpheus, since he is a dolphin, he could breathe underwater, and they actually do some fun stuff with what dolphins can do in the water, where, echolocation and some other stuff with that. Very interesting, and it kept popping up more and more as more variants of mermen showed up, of different races, of different species of fish, and all of that good stuff. And then the countermeasure stuff that we had to go through was cool. Having fights underwater really kind of changed what you can do with the fighting choreography. And when we got knee deep into it towards the final arc, I was all in, man. I really wanted to see so much more of what they could do of humans versus mermen and how fun that was going to be. Samejima, solid guy, great person to have as a main character. He He is reacting for the audience of how absurd certain things go and how ridiculous the situations are on the island, whether it be these wacky adventures they go with Chaco and Orpheus, or if it's just really random stuff that just doesn't make sense for mainlanders. Chaco is such a delight, man. That's one thing we missed out in Hungry Marie, is the child character that Tamura likes to throw in there, like in Beelzebub with Belbo. He was always a fun time to see on screen. He really got the humor down when it comes to the child characters. And Chaco's just the same way. You know, she's acting like a typical 5-year-old, always wants fun adventures, and when gets in trouble, gets super nervous and wants to lie and all of that good stuff. So their dynamic with each other is fun because she just wants to horse around and play, and he's just like, look, I'm not only am I too old for this, but there's just been so much wacky stuff going on the island, I'm just not in the mood sometimes for all of this stuff. And then that's where the third character of this trio comes in to play the counter, who is jealous of Samejima, which is, of course, Orpheus, who is a fun, wacky character because he is a dolphin. So he's obviously the comedic bit of this whole trio, right? He's the one that's landing jokes or being a part of a joke or a bit that, you know, just causes Samejima to react crazy. He's like, what the heck is even going on? And the one thing I love about it, which is what reminds me of Gintama, is that when the story starts to get serious, so do our characters. And that's when they really shine. We get to get a deep look and understanding of what these characters are all about. And I'm here for it. And for a while, I had an idea of what was going to happen to Orpheus after some certain plot points were coming in, as well as the promotion for this series particularly. I felt like maybe there's a reason why they didn't show Orpheus in the promo stuff, because something might have happened. And as I was patiently waiting to see what was going to happen, I ended up really liking his character and thinking, no, he's too important to not be here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if he stays or not. And as we get to the final arc of this series and just seeing everything go down pretty crazy and heavy, yeah, that was some really good stuff. Totally worth going through. And again, just really bummed out that we're not going to see this story get fleshed out. I never heard a lot of people talk about it. And maybe it's because, the humor just really didn't hit every single time. There were definitely some of those facial reactions where like, oh yeah, that's obviously a reaction for a gag, which I kind of don't know how I feel about, because it's implying like the joke landed, but then if it doesn't, then, it just falls flat and you don't get interested in the chapter anymore. I think the pacing could have probably been a little better. The introduction of the merman and really shifting the plot towards that kind of stuff, it was fine. Maybe if you could have made it a little tighter, had him show up like just a few chapters earlier, and then have the serious stuff slowly pop up more and more, but keep the gag elements that's in there, similar to Gintama again, towards the back half particularly. I think it really could have done a good job, but plenty of other gag series that are doing very well, and with a new series like this, maybe it just really didn't have the pull that it should have. Really sucks to say, man. I enjoyed what we had with these 47 chapters. I still think it's worth it, even though when we get through the final arc and all the stuff we really want to see just doesn't really get fleshed out. It's still good at the end of the day. And aside from all that, guys, just go check it out. I think it's worth your time. And with that, guys, that's really all I have to say today about Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. Did you guys check it out? What did you think? Would love to hear your thoughts. And of course, we could always bring those up on the next episode. And you can send those thoughts and questions to unversepodcast@gmail.com. And then you could follow us on social media anywhere you go at unversepodcast, and we'll let you know when the next episodes drop. So thank you again, guys, and we will catch you on the next one.